Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you all to yet another round of cluster talks. Agri-food cluster activities for sustainable and resilient ecosystem is our topic of today. My name is Jovila Kropaite. We will discuss the critical challenges for the green transition in agri-food, the role of clusters to support the transition and improve the resilience, and cluster projects and activities that can serve as examples of future development. And just to give you a bit more background, which most of you are aware of, but just to remind you that agri-food systems consume about 30% of the world's energy, and a third of agri-food systems emissions of greenhouse gases stem from energy use. And it is no secret that Russia's aggression in Ukraine is also really impacting the EU agri-food value chain, and the shift towards renewable energy is even more urgent in this industrial ecosystem. The use of resource efficiency technologies by agri-food SMEs will be crucial to support their competitiveness and enable the sustainability transition. The fertilizers also have a specific situation. The supply of fertilizers to the EU has been significantly disrupted, and their prices have almost tripled compared to last year. So I hope we will have a chance to specifically talk about fertilizers in the panel discussion that will be part of this cluster talks. And this is about it. This is the topic that we will discuss today. We will hear some news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. We will get the perspective of the European Commission. There will be the panel debate in which fertilizers and all of these other issues that I have just briefly described will be discussed by as many as 5 panelists. And then we will present the funding opportunities that are available. So this is what we will do today. Thank you everybody for joining. Please use the Q&A function to ask questions and the chat function to comment or share any links should you feel the need to. If you want to take the floor, you will have to raise your hand, and then we will unmute you, and then you will be able to ask your question directly. If you would like to be on video, please ask us to activate your camera. And also please note that this session, as all of the cluster talks, is being recorded. So that's about it. That's the housekeeping rules that we will obey, I hope. And let us hear the news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. I will give the floor to the team member of the European Cluster Collaboration Platform, Nina Hopman. Over to you, Nina.
Thank you very much, Jovila, and welcome everybody to this cluster talk. We have some news to share with you. And first of all, today we're talking about agri-food. So please let us also invite you to the agri-food matchmaking event that is going to take place on the 5th of December. So next week online on the B2Match platform. So very easy to connect since it will be online, and you can look for interesting partners and to schedule meetings so that you can discuss your needs on resource efficiency, on possible fertilizer solutions, scaling up your innovative solutions that you have and that you need partners for. So I think it's a very good fit based on today, the discussion, to also continue working on the issues that are being mentioned in the event of the cluster matchmaking. That is also for EU enterprises, cluster organizations, EN members, on other business support organizations, and EU national regional research, development, and innovation agencies. So a warm invite to join this event. Also, what we have in store is the next Clusters Meet Regions event, where cluster organizations meet policymakers, this time in Spain, in Barcelona, taking place on the 14th until the 16th of December. The 3 main topics are food, energy, and mobility. And on the 14th, we will have site visits. On the 15th, matchmaking plus the main event. And on the 16th, the celebration of the 30th anniversary of cluster policy in Catalonia. Also, a warm welcome to come to Barcelona, Spain, to celebrate this Cluster SME Regions event with us. Next, we have online a consultation on de minimis regulation. Current de minimis state aid rules allow an exemption from state aid control for very small aid amounts up to 200,000 euros, as they're deemed to have no impact on competition and trade in the single market. But these rules are going to expire at the end of next year. So the European Commission launched a public consultation on the draft of the de minimis regulation that is open until the 10th of January. Please participate via the Have Your Say portal in case you're interested. And we also want to remind you that the current energy needs from Ukraine is still a very important topic. So one of the biggest needs are power transformers and generators. So in case you are interested in donating, you have some secondhand generators that you can spare, please contact the Energy Community Secretariat. The task force email address is in the screen. So please write to them, get the most updated list of the energy needs, and ask about the logistics of donating. They have a complete system installed, so they help you with making the donation and bringing that to Ukraine. And last but not least, we would like to invite you to a conference that is taking place on the 8th of December. Fostering sustainable cooperation between the Baltic Sea region and Ukraine. The leading question for this conference is how can macro-regional strategies foster new sustainable cooperation for Ukraine stakeholders? I think very interesting. It's taking place online and you can still register until the 6th of December. So if you want to join the several events, and please support you. That's all. Thank you, and back to you, Chivila.
Thank you so much, Nina. All of the links are in the chat. That's a note to everybody. And also in the chat are all of the greetings from all of you that are joining and mentioning the clusters they represent or the countries they are from. Thank you for that. That's really useful to know that there are so many of you and that you're listening to us and that you're here and that you're from so many different parts of Europe. So thank you so much for this. And we will now hear from our own correspondent, a video. The video is an introduction to the topic with sequences from the preparatory webinar for the Agri-food matchmaking event, the event that has already been mentioned, and it will take place on the 5th of December. So let's have a look at our screens.
We're trying to actually help with the agri-food ecosystem to embrace the opportunities for resource efficiency, circular economy, and different technologies, with a view to improving, the present difficulties that it is facing, especially with regard to the inflation of costs at all the different levels of the agri-food value chain.
So when we talk about resource efficiency, this is one of the main topics probably in agri-food sector that you can hear nowadays, because right now the most important on the food value chain, what we are expecting, what we want to do with it, not only to transform food system overall, but we are talking about sustainability on one side, on the other side, making a food value chain resilient. And with the resource efficiency, this is probably the basics, the biggest background for it. And when we talk about resource efficiency, probably two main strategies that we can all agree on, that could be circular bioeconomy and digitalization.
Agriculture solar power plants for more efficient farming. Using of solar panels in the agriculture, it is possible to achieve the following results. A typical agro-accumulative solar power plant can produce up to 900 kilowatts per hour of electricity per year from an installed capacity of 1 kilowatt. When growing crops in the shade of solar modules, the yield can increase up to 2 times compared to conventional agriculture. The harvest ripe faster up to 30%. The part provided by the photovoltaic modules ensures a cooler surface during the day and a warmer temperature at night. What is the most important, the system also has a lower vapor pressure deficit. In some cases, water loss can be reduced by as much as 80%.
Today, I would like to approach one of sector that a lot of our members are working on. That is the production of biogas and also the upgrade from biogas to biomethane. I think that this topic is very relevant now. We, as a country, but I think that is not just one of our challenge, is to make us independent from imports of gas, but also from fossil gas. So we are trying to improve our production of biomethane, also green hydrogen, and so on.
One of the outcomes of the BBIJU that it will be replicated under Circular Bio-Based Europe are the so-called flagship projects. These are biorefineries, first of a kind, and they all address very specific sector. They are very well spread in Europe, and we see them now going into production. These are really industrial scale biorefineries that are producing bio-based and circular products.
So that was the video in preparation for the matchmaking event, which I want to remind everybody will take place on the 5th of December. And we will now hear the perspective from the European Commission. Policy Officer at DG Agri, Veronika Madner, is with us. The floor is yours, Veronika. Thank you so much for joining.
Yes, thank you very much, and good morning from my side also to everybody. I was asked to give you today a short overview on the funding opportunities which exist under the European Agricultural Fund for Rural Development. On my first slide, just very short, the Rural Development Fund is part of the Common Agricultural Policy, and under the CAP we are following 9 specific objectives. There are 3 related more to economic parameters, 3 to environmental parameters, and 3 to social economic parameters. So all the support is targeting one or more of these specific objectives. But what is more important for you is what are the funding instruments. On the next slide, I wanted to give you a short overview on the instruments where I think that they are most relevant for you. Of course, under the Common Agricultural Policy, a lot of funding goes directly to farmers, but there are also possibilities for rural businesses to get support under certain measures. One category, the first one, is support for investments. This is a quite broad category. Their support can be provided for the production, but also for the processing of agricultural products, but also it goes beyond to non-agricultural products. Then very important under this category, investments in the production of renewable energy is possible. This can be on-farm, but also for off-farm businesses. Moreover, investments in improving energy efficiency or also infrastructure in rural areas can be supported under this category. Then the second one, there's also the possibility to support startups in rural areas, rural businesses. On the one hand, businesses linked to agriculture or forestry, but also startups for non-agricultural activities when they are part of a regional leader strategy. And here, this startup aid is a lump sum payment where the the business has to provide a business plan and implement that. The third intervention category, which I think is important to this audience, is the cooperation. So it's also possible to fund, to support cooperation activities, especially the running costs of these cooperations between at least 2 actors. There, under this cooperation measure, also the European Innovation Partnership is part of it. So where the focus is really to work together between researchers and practitioners, to try new innovative activities. And this is then also complemented, these 3 categories, by knowledge exchange and dissemination of information. So it's also a part of the common agricultural policy to provide support for knowledge transfer and advisory services. Normally, under the rural development funds, the support is provided in the form of grants. It can be up to 100% of the costs incurred, but of course 100% is more related maybe to cooperation activities or knowledge exchange. When it comes to investments, the support rate may be around 20–40%. This depends a little bit on the framework. Moreover, there is also some member states also include the possibility of support through financial instruments. So far on the framework, on my next slide, when it comes more to the practical questions, where can I get more information? Where can I apply for support? Under the Common Agricultural Policy, we are under a shared management. So this is important. It's not a direct funding from the Commission. Member states are implementing the policy and are providing then the support. And for implementing the policy, member states had to draw up a so-called CAP strategic plan, where they included all the support measures. And this is based on the needs assessment and the strategy, always contributing to the 9 specific objectives. And this plan was then in the last year negotiated with the Commission, and now we are about to approve the last plans so that the implementation can start in 2023. I also included here a link where you can get the first overview on the CAP strategic plans of the member states. If you want to have more information, I would advise you that you really go to the national administration which is implementing the plan to really see what is possible, because at the EU level we provide the framework, but then it's up to the member state to define, for example, which investments can be supported, the concrete support rate, and so on. Yeah, and on my last slide, I just provided some examples what was funded under the current rural development programs. For example, in Greece, there was support provided for the production of biofuel, or in Estonia, the replacing of plastic by using waste wool. So I would really invite you to look also at these examples. There is a big database at the website of the European network, where you can find some inspiration about projects which have been funded. Okay, I think this is it from my side, and I will still stay a little bit if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Veronica. Should there be any questions, they can all be written in the chat. So that's one opportunity. The other one we will have at the end, the panel debate, where people could do that live. If they want to, we will have to switch their screen after they have requested this. So these were the funding opportunities. Thank you so much for those. And I also want to thank you for the specific examples, and the links are also in the chat, so everybody who's interested in those examples and how practically those funding opportunities work, this is a good opportunity to look at the links that are there in the chat. And let me now go to the team leader at DG Grow, Blaga Valentinova Popova, who will join us in a minute and will deliver a presentation as well. Thank you so much, Blaga. The floor is yours.
Yes, good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you this morning. I think we also have a few short slides, but perhaps before going into the slides, just a quick introduction, since the topic of today is resilience and sustainability, just to update you on one of our major initiatives, which is particularly related to the sustainability transition of food business. And that is the EU Code of Conduct for Sustainable Food Business and Marketing Practices. I believe that many of you would already be familiar with that. The Code of Conduct is one of the actions that we have under the EU Farm to Fork strategy. It is specifically targeted at what we call the actors between the farm and the fork. And it is a framework with 8 aspirational objectives covering all areas of food sustainability, from healthy and sustainable diets and reducing food waste to resource efficiency, carbon neutrality, and also social aspects such as decent work and sustainable sourcing. So the Code of Conduct was launched in July 2021, and we just had yesterday the annual meeting of the Code of Conduct signatories, what we call the collaborative platform, where the signatories also opened up to other stakeholders within the agri-food ecosystem, civil society, policymakers, international organizations, and they took stock of the progress on this initiative. So the balance is quite positive. We have today more than 130 signatories of the Code of Conduct, and these companies and associations that represent them have of course, signed up to the code and internalized, adhered to those sustainability objectives, but they have also made concrete commitments under those different objectives. And they have also reported on the actions that they have been taking over this last year in order to meet those objectives. So it's true, we have 130 signatories, but the majority of those are big players. So we have many of the big food processing companies from the food and drink industry, many big retailers, but really very few smaller companies and really in niche areas. So on the other hand, we see a lot of value of extending these initiatives to more medium and small players. Not just as a tick the box exercise and signing up to the code, but because we really see value in it in terms of, first of all, using it as a guideline to potentially set up some form of a sustainability strategy, see perhaps where the gaps are in their business model, with benchmarking them vis-a-vis those sustainability aspirational objectives, but also become part of what we now call the Code of Conduct signatories community. So all the signatories also meet and discuss on different topics. They exchange good practices and create opportunities for collaboration. Because one of the objectives under the code is actually value creation within the food supply chain. And we really think this is a very important element, because the final environmental and even social footprint of a food product that goes to the consumer depends, of course, on the sustainability performance of everybody that is in the supply chain. So within this code of conduct, companies also create programs for collaboration with which they also support farmers or other partners inside the chain. So yes, a good starting point, but indeed I once again would like to point your attention to this initiative and invite you to spread the word within your members about it. And we of course have resources and information available that we could share, including the fact that we expect by the end of January, latest early February, to have a specific SME tool linked to the Code of Conduct. This tool is to be hosted by the Cluster Collaboration Platform. We very much welcome that. And it will allow smaller companies, first of all, to sign up in a very simplified and straightforward way the code by just filling in a form. But perhaps more importantly, it will allow also companies to a bit evaluate their activities and decide where they stand and in which area of the code they could potentially make a commitment, and also link that to existing best practices within the EREC database. So a few things that will come together into this tool. This is about the Code of Conduct more broadly, but of course, today we're speaking about sustainability, but also about resilience. We know that the agri-food ecosystem is living through major difficulties. We hear on a daily basis from stakeholders about the difficulties in relation to energy prices, but also increased costs all across the board for all inputs, including raw materials, packaging, etc. So we see this link, of course, between resilience and sustainability. And in this relation, and apologies really that somehow our slides are not with you, but I will share the links in the chat just after my presentation. So we're organizing in relation to the code, but also within the framework of the Cluster Collaboration Platform, a matchmaking event. This matchmaking event is going to take place online, exclusively online, so easy to take part in it. It's taking place quite soon on the 5th of December, but it is still possible to register until the 2nd of December. And this matchmaking is targeted at agri-food companies, but also technology providers, financial, apologies, financial institutions. And it is it is focused on three main areas. The first one is renewable energy. The second one is resource efficiency. And the third one is circular fertilizer solutions. So all very relevant in today's context. So I think with this, I will conclude and I will just share the links for registering to the matchmaking event. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Blaga. If you could have some water and stay with us for 1 minute. We have a question that is very specific. I think it's important that maybe you would know the answer directly. Just is asking, is there a link with the EU information on CO2 methane emissions from agriculture?
Yes, we have statistics on emissions coming from agriculture. So I could share that with you after the meeting. So we have a GRC studies and we have different reports that we're looking at as part of the farm to fork work. So we can provide this information. So if you can just, I take note of the question and I will send it to you after the meeting.
Okay, thanks. And I also briefly wanted to ask about the code of conduct and this tool for SMEs. Will it be available to everybody? You said that it's due in, I think, very soon, but would you maybe say about the logistics, how should people be expecting for it to appear and where should they be looking, and will it be available to everybody?
Yeah, but thank you for the question. So it will be on the cluster collaboration platform. And as soon as we have obviously the exact, when the tool is in place, we will share the link broadly and we will communicate about the tool. We will also link that probably with more communication on the code itself and the value that we think it can provide to SMEs. So we can really accompany this adherence. So I believe that towards the end of January, beginning of February, we can share that with you. And I just wanted to add up an additional piece of information. We are also looking at the possibility to have some funding within the single market program for agri-food sustainability cluster partnerships. So this is also something we will be able to share further on.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for reminding of these initiatives. Thank you for spending the morning with us. That was the European Commission representative for DG GROW, Blaga Valentinova Popova, and we will in a moment move to the panel debate about the ecosystem's most urgent issues for the green transition. What are they? This is what we will discuss. Do continue writing your questions. They're really helpful, and that in that way we can make this panel debate instrumental and useful for each of you. We will have 5 different speakers. International project and network manager at Vegepolis Valley, also coordinator of Eurocluster SUAV, Claudia de Oliveira Ramos. We will also be joined by the European Innovation Projects Officer at Vegepolis Valley, Pauline Baudin. We will also be joined by International Affairs Manager at SECFO, Coordinator of Food Pack Lab 2.0 project, Gavel Balchak, and also Director of Innovation at EIT Food, Paula Javendoni, International Affairs Officer at Wagralim, also coordinator of Eurocluster B Resilient, Yuan Chai. Everybody is connected. Please do switch your cameras on. And I want to start with Claudia. Thank you for joining. Euroclusters. This is a term that are new cluster flagship projects of the European Commission, as we understand. How would you define the Eurocluster, and how can it help accelerate growth, innovation, and competitiveness?
Hello, Nina. Hello, Zivili. Hello, everyone. Thanks for the invitation and the opportunity. We are representing and coordinating indeed the project. The SUAV for Urban Agriculture is an Eurocluster project. I will define Eurocluster as an incentive, a positive way to accelerate and to help SMEs in Europe innovate and deal with all these questions and matters that we are facing nowadays. Our project is for urban agriculture. Veronica talked about rural agriculture. We are encouraging urban agriculture and SMEs in this sense. Pauline, is there something you want to add as well?
Yes, Pauline is also from the same.
Yes, from Vegepolis Valley.
Pauline, would
and
you
SUAV.
mention some other activities of the cluster, and where do you see opportunities for more resilience?
Yes, hi everybody. So in fact, the SUAV project is one of the items that could address the challenges of a food system, because we think that urban agriculture, urban farming is one of the ways to be more resilient and to help toward a green transition. But we are also working on really many other different items for more sustainable and resilient agricultural production. And the main challenges we are facing and we want to address is concerning the water and energy management, of course, of production. And we are also have a lot of activities on the diversification of crops to increase the biodiversity, but also to help the carbon sequestration, and so to work also in close link with the consumers, because if we change the method of productions, the ways of productions, and the type of crops we are producing, we need to be it needs to be accepted by the end user. So it's also a big challenge to make the agri-food ecosystem resilient. It needs to be understanding on the entire value chain. So yeah, that's one of the job of the clusters, in fact.
So as far as I understand, water and energy management is the greatest challenge.
Nowadays, yes.
Okay, let us move to Gavel and ask you about the SECFO, which I understand is a technology agri-food cluster, right? What is it? What does it do?
Yes, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. SECFO, yes, it's a technology cluster. It is deep tech ecosystem from Spain, and as applications of deep tech technologies are sensors, lasers, robotics, automated vehicles, artificial intelligence, big data, many different types of technologies with applications which are very transversal. And agri-food is one of the sectors we focus on, one of the strategic ones for us.
So working with agri-food, with the sector, what would you say is the main challenge currently?
From technology providers' perspective, because we represent technology developers, technology providers, is to how to reach out to partners from the agri-food sector. And I think that it's not only our challenge. I mean, it's the common challenge of other deep tech or technology ecosystems we know, because in general we do have many wonderful things to offer, as we work with great minds, really great solutions, but many of them stay there. So the main challenge for me as I work there as international affairs manager is how to reach out to right stakeholders, to right entities, right people from the agri-food value chain.
So you're saying that basically agri-food sector is not willing to cooperate, maybe not as willing to be digitalized as any other sectors?
I'm not sure if there's a question of will here, because in many cases we discovered that it's not the agri-food partners don't want to collaborate. In many cases, they simply don't know what's available and what are the possibilities. What does it mean? Starting with deep tech, which is one of those words which sounds great, but okay, what does it mean? So it's, in my opinion, it can be also about lack of knowledge and lack of contact, basically, because between these two words, the technology side and the agri-food side.
Okay, lack of information and lack of knowledge. That's an interesting and important point. Let's move to policy now, and let's see what are the innovative solutions that are currently being developed if we talk about EIT food.
Yes, good morning, everybody. First of all, I want to say a couple of words about EIT food. That means European Institute of Innovation and Technology. And we are actually the leading initiative in innovation in Europe, and we are co-funded by the European Union. We are a family of 8 EITs, or knowledge innovation communities, and we really encompass in EIT food the whole agri-food chain, going really from primary production until consumer. And this is, I would say, quite unique also at international level. Moreover, you know, when you think about innovation is a long process. So where we focus our attention and our programs is really in the last mile to market. So we are really support activities to bring products to market. Our principle is like for the other EITs is based on the knowledge triangle integration. That means is really the collaboration between the entrepreneurship part, so the business creation part, the innovation and technology, the education, and we also use the public engagement. So it's a really completely integrated approach to innovation. At the moment, we are working on 3 big missions. One is the net zero food system, the healthier lives through food. So one addressing more the nutrition, or the health through nutrition. And the third one is a fully transparent, resilient, and fair food system. And I think through this, we are really encompassing all the problems that we were mentioning and discussing today. I want to mention that our focus areas, for example, are the protein diversification. And with the term protein diversification, we really work on alternative proteins, but with the mean really of reducing the high resource intensive protein sources like the animal ones, and replacing them, not replacing them, but increasing, let's say, the level of proteins that come from alternative sources. And this is a way also to approach. The other field where we are very much now working on is all the field of what we call sustainable agriculture, through different, let's say, programs going from regenerative agriculture to specific projects. And I can mention, for example, projects that are acting on reducing the, actually on specific technologies like sensing technologies, like technology that are able to measure specific points of in agriculture, and in this way also reduce, for example, energy consumption or the input consumption. So I would say I stop here. I don't know if you have questions. Maybe I can go on, but yeah, please ask.
Okay, thank you so much. I think Claudia raised her hand very briefly. Did you want to add something now very briefly?
Yes, Zivili, just to complete what Gael was saying about the fact that we have also one of the challenges for green transition is a difference that we have in terms of infrastructure. So, in a few rural areas, we don't have enough infrastructure, we don't have internet, so it does not encourage farmers to adopt green technology, digital technology in their farm. That's what I wanted to add. I
that is an interesting challenge to be discussed, and we might touch upon them, but I now want to go to Yuan and also ask her about the Eurocluster that you are working for. What is it doing in general, and what is it doing to bring innovation into the system?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Zivil. We are working on the Be Resilient Euroclusters, which is another project granted under the Agri-food strand. Like it said, Be Resilient is helping the agri-food sector to be more resilient through digital and technical innovation and also market-oriented solutions. We are targeting more the biomass, how to use better our biomass in the agri-food sectors. As you said, the sector is getting a lot of critical from the market since there's CO2 gas emissions, and all our companies that are composed by mainly SMEs would like to go for these transitions, but they are lost. As just our colleagues said, they are too small, they don't have the sufficient knowledge. So through this Be Resilient project, we would like to bring them the knowledge, upscaling different staffs from the SMEs, but also bring a small help to help them how to increase their productivity, making them more efficient in their production line, but also having this green transitions, valorizations of waste at the end of this production site.
Thank you so much. Would you agree, Yuan, with what other speakers have said about the challenges that they face, lack of knowledge being an issue, as Claudia said, even lack of internet being an issue to adopt novelties, and also what has been said about water and energy management as an issue. Would you second to that?
I agree with what we have said, and I would like to highlight with the current situation. Since we know that the sector is composed mainly by SMEs, taking an example of this year's, SMEs are facing very complicated and complex situations with salary indexations, high energy prices. So the main challenge, of the moment is also how to survive before doing more investment in the green transition. And obviously, for a lot of them, they postpone these activities, even though I'm convinced our companies are willing to change. And also, in the other hand, we have to convince the markets to pay a higher price, because all this green transition, there's a cost. So, and maybe just to add on this, usually in general cases, there are 2 or 3 people inside of a company. They're lacking of time, and there's also heavy administrative operation preparation to invest. So they need to, this require a higher analysis of the markets, analysis of the ecosystem, the analysis of the technical provider. So all of this making the sector, which is facing a quite big challenges and big difficulty times.
Thank you so much, Jon, for those points. So we can see many questions coming in, and thank you everybody for that. We will want to give the floor to Flo, I think, who's got a question, a hand raised, and she wants to make her point. I think we can listen to you if you're willing to speak to us at this moment. Flo? Okay, let me read out the other.
This was a mistake, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. You didn't want to ask a question, right?
No, no, I'm glad to listen to.
Okay, we are glad to that you are listening to us. Anyway, Pablo has asked something very specific. Maybe someone is working with ammonia and can help him. We have been preparing a green ammonia project for some months. This could affect transport and fertilizers production in small villages, and most of the partners, we are SME. We can be in TRL5, and we think it can be a disruptive technology. It was presented days ago at JECA meeting. The first project would be a detailed simulator. We are looking for partners, farmers, cooperatives, but there is none, or we are not finding any. Age 2020 call about green ammonia. Could someone maybe pick up on that? Has anyone dealt with similar issues and has something to say about ammonia? Okay, we then hope that Pablo can find his answers between some other participants. Yes,
Civil, maybe he can contact me or EIT-Food, because we are working also on this, so really can help him at least with. He should really join our, let's say, community and listen what we do. Our webinars, there is an open call for proposals that is now ongoing, and the deadline will be middle of April, so there is time enough to create consortia. So he's really very welcome to contact us at EIT-Food.
Okay, that's a very useful comment. Thank you so much. I wanted to also ask everybody to give one example where you think there are opportunities to make the ecosystem or more resource efficient has already worked very well. We have heard some examples in the video, like, for example, I will remind everybody, agriculture solar power plants for more efficient farming. Using solar panels in agriculture is possible to achieve the following results. A typical agro-accumulative solar power plant can produce up to 900 kilowatts per hour of electricity per year from an installed capacity of 1 kilowatt. That was one of the examples that a man in the video has given. Would you have other examples from your clusters, from whatever you're working with, that could be used as inspiration for everybody and you think that they work well? Claudia, let's begin with you.
Sorry, Zivili. I was writing to Paolo, just asking him and suggesting him to check as well as a cluster in this region, as we can also help in these cases, putting him in touch with the right persons, Paolo. So I was not paying attention.
Let's ask Pauline. Maybe she would have something to add to the examples that are making the ecosystem more resource efficient.
Yeah, internally, like in Vegetable Valley, we are currently working on some European projects on different aspects. But one of them is about the bioeconomy sector, and we think it's a really good way to have more resources and to avoid wastes. And so the thing is that we want to connect people with like byproducts, residues of agricultural production, agro-industrial companies, all the sort of biomass residues, and we connect this kind of people with some innovators that are producing bio-based materials, bio-based plastics, other type of food production, food transformation, also circular bio-based fertilizer coming from all these type of residues. So it's really one of the sector that could be helpful to be more resource efficient in the agri-food ecosystem. So yeah, to create a new value chain around the bioeconomy sector for different type of end products and uses.
Thank you. Paola, would you have a good example from what EIT is doing?
Yes, I can give you a couple of examples of how we work and some projects that are ongoing. So first of all, what I was mentioning before, that we have this open call. When we launch a call, we really put together the most critical challenges. And what we are talking today has been taken into consideration in these challenges. So we ask for consortia to answer with their proposals to these specific challenges, and really to show us how they can create the impact and how they can really come to clear solutions on the market or to implement their solutions. So, so having said that, I would like to maybe tell you a couple of examples of projects that we have ongoing. On proteins. There is a lot going on proteins, and here we can, span between algae to fermentation derived proteins to cellular meat, and they all somehow they go in the same direction. So what I want to say is that some of them or most of them, they are really using waste material from production, from other production or side streams. For example, there is a project called Taste to Meat that is really using sunflower press cake, which is a waste of the extraction of oil. And out of this, they extract proteins. With these proteins, now they are combining, first of all the technology to create products, but also to combine with other animal proteins. So they will become hybrid products to bring to market, which is probably something more flexible and more acceptable, because there are still a lot of barriers in terms of taste, in terms of a texture for the products that are now on the market. So, very creative idea where we try to, on one hand, become much more sustainable in the way how we propose these new alternative products to the market, and also to reduce energy. So using methods or let's say processes that are already available, for example, in the factories, but at the same time creating this innovation and the impact that we want to bring. I can tell you a little bit more about, for example, our startups. We have an association of startups that are the scale-ups, so the startups with at a more mature level in EIT food. And for example, one of them is called Vivent. They work on precision agriculture. Precision agriculture means really go to the key point, to the key element that is necessary to have the impact, so that you can reduce, for example, inputs, you can reduce herbicides. And another example is Dahlia Robotics, that is really having, is like a robot that is used to remove weed from the field. So, there are some examples. I want to give you the last thing that we are doing that is very important. We just launched a call for to address the transportation system of grain from Ukraine to the West countries. This is in collaboration with the Ukrainian Ministry of Agriculture. So we are really looking for feasibility studies to how to transport on a very long distance with system, for example, grain pipeline, cereals from Ukraine out to whichever countries of the EU. And this is a very ambitious initiative where we are trying to advertise and to communicate, because I think it is very important to have good solutions out of this.
How fast could this happen?
Our innovations, they go from, let's say, 1 year to be implemented to 2 to 3 years. So this, in this specific case, is not an easy one. We are really creating something completely breakthrough, completely, because we have clear parameters that we need to follow. The grains needs to be, they cannot be meshed, so they need to keep their integrity for 100, at least 100 kilometers. So it means is a huge distance. I don't know, to our knowledge, something that like this that has already been created. So it's something really very, very ambitious and very new.
You're saying it has already been created or not? Because
No.
a grain pipeline, it's not something that we are aware of, I don't think.
Exactly, it has not been created. Therefore, we look for innovators. We look for, probably here, we need many competencies together. So it's not just one competence. We embrace this as a, with our call, with our energies and the programs that we can do. But I think that is a much bigger type of action that we need to take, so with different competencies.
Okay, that's very important what you have said now. Thank you so much. I think I will want to move to Gavel now to see that if you maybe have something to add to this. How can we foster the innovation process? There is a specific case, right? There is a specific problem, grains that need to be transported from the country that has not necessarily opportunities to export the grain that it wants to, because Russia has invaded it. How can we foster the innovation process?
Thank you very much for this question. To be honest, I was just about to also to give you some examples of our work related to innovation in the agri-food sector. We do have projects on different levels, but after what just have Paula said, it is precisely one of the topics we are now working on with different cereals, but it's the same thing: transport of grains and cereal-related products as a result of our project. We have this Clusters Go International Food Pack Lab. The reason why I'm here with you today. So we have a partner in India, because India was one of the targeted countries, and we work with them on how to transport millet products from India to the world. And it's a really complex topic, as Paula has just said, involving probably many different solutions, different approaches in our case. For the moment, we have like two ways. One more long-term related to research, but it's not what we want. It's very nice because thanks to this we have just open opportunity for one of the research organizations in Europe to work with Indian partners, probably using EU funds. So that's wonderful, but still it's long term. That it doesn't solve anything now. So our main achievement as for today is to change the approach of Indian partners because they were simply not prepared for it, and they're starting to realize that it should go another way, not the one they were thinking of. So I would be more than happy to take it further and talk to Paula about this topic. Also, today I represent SECFO, which is a Spanish deep tech cluster, but I'm Polish, so the topic of the Russian invasion is also quite close to me. So thank you very much, Paula, for sharing this, and more than happy to talk to you about it later.
I hope that you can cooperate and talk on this more, but Gavel, is it doable? A grain pipeline, does that sound something like it is possible to eventually do?
Everything is possible, but how to do it right now, absolutely no idea. Because yeah, as I told you, this is really complex, and from our approach for all types of collaboration is very close to also to what Paula has said. I mean, innovation challenges and solutions approach. So each project is different. Everything is totally new. We start from scratch, basically. So although we do have many different solutions in our ecosystem, with we have 170 members, but we also have partner ecosystems, other technology providers around Europe. You never know how it will end, because it's always about adapting the technologies to the given challenge and be flexible with the process. So I am full of hope and goodwill, but how will it end? No idea.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. Let us talk a bit about the fertilizer industry. It is also related to Russian invasion, and the EU fertilizer industry is working on switching to the production of low carbon ammonia and other circular nutrient sources. I have already mentioned about the price increase, fertilizers 30%. What are possible solutions for the disruptions in the fertilizer supply? Do we have any examples here? Maybe Pauline or Yuan would want to take this one.
Yes, sure. Thanks, Yuan. In fact, we are, of course, it's a big challenge for the sector, but we are also trying to understand the question in the other way around. So we need to reduce our consumption. So how? Like, we are more working on the challenges to how reduce our fertilizer consumption. So these are some examples, but we need to have a more nitrogen uptake and a carbon sequestration. So for that, it exists a lot of manure and a lot of options, like integrating legume scraps to fix the nitrogen, to work on the soil health, to regenerate agriculture after sowing organic matter in the soil, and also using, for example, precision farming to know better the situation of the soil and the way to use the fertilizers. So we are right now working with our members, with our ecosystem, to go more deeply on this type of solutions, to be able to be more autonomous on the fertilizer uses.
Are there any other good examples in the fertilizer industry? Yuan, would you want to take this one?
Maybe talking about industries, maybe I would like to also put in advance that in Europe, we see a lot of innovative startups and SMEs are emerging on this topic. We have very good competences, and also maybe talking more generally in Wallonia, in French part of Belgium, we have identified quite a lot in SMEs working on maybe more larger ways on the biosolutions, how to help the soil to keep the health of soil, not only fertilizer, but also stimulants, biocontrol, because all these are together to help our farmers to grow better and healthier plants. And what we also believe is we need to encourage the skills of agriculture part, because how to better have the crop rotation, how to use an efficient intercropping system to make the soil, to keep the health of the soil, and also foster the culture of legumes, a selection of stronger variety of plants. So I think it's not only linked to the fertilizer, but this is a big challenge for us to think in general way, how can we keep this supply, the resilience of our supply chain. And for instance, in our region, universities of Liège is working on wastewater to recovering phosphorus from the wastewater, then inject this into the soil for keep the soil health of the soil. So this is also a more circular thinking, to use the existing waste, and to do another positive solution for other applications. And also a project that is valorizing the pig urine as biofertilizer. This is also a good example of a circular ecosystem. So well, I think this is how we see this question.
Claudia, what would you say? How can clusters specifically help accelerate innovation in terms of fertilizer problem or anything else that is relevant?
I was going to, in the sense of UN as well, not only encourage innovation in this sense and better technologies to find other solutions to fertilizers, but especially to encourage how to educate farmers in better using the fertilizers. And I think, for example, the project that we have, Suave, will include this training and upskilling, and it's something that the projects are good for in this sense, and not only encouraging innovation, but also training, educating our stakeholders to a better use of the innovation and the technology and the ways that we have available.
We have received a comment from Jonas, who says we are working on ultraviolet disinfection solutions. This is chemical-free process for air, water disinfection, smell reduction. Combining solar plants and UV can bring energy-efficient chemical-free disinfection. This is one of the examples, because for cooperation, he's willing to cooperate, and he's given his contacts. But let's round this up by making a more general comment on, as a lot of you have said, education of farmers, because this is emerging as a problem that sometimes there are solutions. I mean, not in every case, sometimes they are difficult and very, very complex, but reaching out to the farmers, or in other words, educating them and letting them know that they should be looking for opportunities, is a big topic here. How can we foster that? One last point, everybody, maybe Gavel, you have a solution. I know that this is your problem, but maybe you have a solution too.
I would love to have. But as for now, for me, the best solution is to collaborate with other organizations, with clusters from the agri-food sector. And on this level, it goes fantastic. the problems start when we go to the level of members of particular companies, how to reach out to them. So for me, is to enhance collaboration between clusters and exchange of information, exchange all those actions which can support to reach out to the right people, the right stakeholders in within the agri-food sector and technological side as well, because probably one of the problems here, one of the reasons here is also that the technology companies, that the technological entities in general, they have wonderful solutions. So Europe has many to offer, but in some cases they simply don't know how to explain it, how to show it, because this is so technical, and many of them, at least in our case, are researchers. Startups are spin-offs of universities. Those guys and girls are great in what they do in the research field, but then how to explain it to someone who has not a PhD in physics, it is also very challenging.
Reaching out to farmers and educating them. Pauline, would you have a solution to this?
That's a complicated matter, but as a reaction to what Gawa said, we are mainly using urban projects also as a way to do this transfer and to, so it's also answering the question of education of farmers, but you know, like it's quite complicated to reach the stakeholders and the end users, especially when you don't have resources in terms of money or time. So having some projects running out with some funding, so we can create some concrete actions with many different stakeholders, and so trying to reach our stakeholders and to educate them and to transfer and disseminate the research into more concrete action. So that's our daily work, to really do this transfer of knowledge into a more understandable language.
Johan, what would you say? What is the solution if we talk about maybe the need to provide farmers with better skills and to provide them with more information in general? Would you have anything to add?
Yes, as in Belgium, in Wallonia, we have the chance to have also other organizations that are more in touch with close relationship with farmers. So we have the chance to be in the center of the ecosystem. We represent our industries, the whole ecosystem. And as said, our competences is also the competences of our industries. So with very stressful situation for the farmers, for also these type of organizations, we also promote collaboration with them, how to translate the needs from the upstream part and to translate these challenges to our industries, helping them to understand really what they need to do, what are the solution expected from the end user. And with our industries, we try to make collaborative projects, generate innovation, new innovation for the system, but also keeping in mind the sustainability and how to make the ecosystem more resilient in our mind. So we also try to bring some future perspective of the market. So I would say there's no miracle solutions that right now, but with our network knowledge and also high competencies that we have in our ecosystem, if we can better translate to these needs, then I think we will have a good solution in the near future.
I think that we have a we have had a very productive discussion. You have given a lot of advice, and I think that we have learned about examples, and we have also learned about the specific need for cooperation in very specific fields. So I hope whoever wanted to connect with everybody, they can do that, because now we have everybody's contacts. And thank you so much for raising all of these issues. This is crucially important. We will round this up. I will thank all of the speakers in the panel debate for their contributions, and I will want to move back to Nina Hopman, who will present the funding opportunities that are available for your projects.
Thank you very much, Sibylle, and thank you all to the panelists for the discussion. Very interesting. We have some wrap-up information for you. First of all, we would like to share that there will be a new call in December from the Interregional Innovation Investments, the I3 instrument. This call for the capacity building, it will be Strand TV, will be published in the upcoming month, with the objective to test new approaches in order to increase the capacity of regional innovation ecosystems in less developed regions participating in the EU value chains. And the action shall facilitate the cooperation between regions which want to develop and increase their capacities to participate in the I3 program. So stay tuned for that. Information is published on the ASMEA website. Please click on the link in the chat if you want to learn more. There's a call open for maritime clusters as an innovative enabler for a sustainable blue economy in the Mediterranean. And the objective of this call is to foster an effective network of maritime clusters in order to support SMEs and the blue economy. There's a list of possible activities to be funded. Some of them are listed in the screen. For example, we can benchmark best practices or use cases, access maritime clusters needs, establish new national maritime cluster organizations, which formulate also recommendations to relative public authorities. This is a call that is open until the 31st of January of the upcoming year and published under the European Maritime Fisheries and Agriculture Fund, the topic ID that you see here in the screen. It is published on the Funding and Tenders portal. And in similar lines, there's a call open for regenerative ocean farming in the Baltic Sea region to support fishers and other interested stakeholders to assess the interest and feasibility to set up new regenerative ocean farms or restore coastal marine ecosystems, with the objective to maintain jobs and to create jobs for local communities, or to address reskilling needs, as we also just discussed in the debate. The same deadline, 31st of January, under the EMFAF, published on the Funding and Tenders portal. And last but not least, I would like to remind that today is the very last day for any SMEs interested in internationalization for Japan. The F2F Health Matters still has the call open today for SMEs to apply to internationalization support. This can be for consultancy services or for travel aid or collective mission to Japan, as well as tailor-made training. So in case you are an SME or you have members of SMEs that are interested in this country, please look at the information on the cluster collaboration platform. That's all, and back to you, Chili.
Thank you so much, Nina. All of the links are in the chat, as are contacts from everybody who wanted to connect. I just want to remind everybody to register for the next talks. After a Christmas break, we will return on the 11th of January, but on the 14th of December, expert group on clusters, national cluster policies and networks. So do register for that. And again, the link is in the chat, as are many links that have been mentioned today. Register also on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. The link will be with you in the chat as well. Thank you so much for participating. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of the day and a productive day too. Thank you so much.